Welcome to our channel. I'm Angie.
And I'm Whitney.
And we're the Simple Teachers. And today we're going to talk about choosing comprehension strategies using our flowchart. We created this flowchart mostly because this is what we do when we're looking at a text and deciding how to teach it.
Exactly.
So let's just walk them through it.
So I'm just going to walk you through this today. In later videos, we'll post us actually using a text and digging into that text and using this for that. But for today, we just want to dive deep into this flowchart.
Yeah.
So at the top of the flowchart, you'll see to the sides of it, you'll see the different types of strategies that could be possible teaching. So you'll see the different types of text structures and then the different types of strategies there. So we've listed those so that we don't have to memorize or recall those. So they're there right away. So at the very top of the flowchart, you'll see preview your text. You'll need to know, is it informational or narrative? So you'll want to read through the text. Is it informational or narrative? Well, let's jump to the left side. Let's say the text is informational. So if it's an informational text, you'll need to read that text and you need to look for text structure. Now for text structure, you'll need to think, hey, is this a text written with description, structure, sequence, problem solution, cause and effect, compare, contrast? Now, with my experience, this is the hardest thing to find, a text that has this throughout it.
For sure.
So
I don't find them very often either. As a matter of fact, I was part of a $5 million study.
Nice.
And that's what we were looking for in this grant was, are there single and clear text structures in text available to K-5 teachers? And we didn't find very many.
Okay.
So it is hard. More are being written, but it's hard. They're mixed up. So they'll have multiple text structures. They'll have an informational text structure with narrative smashed around it, or the opposite, narrative with some text structure in it.
It's like hybrid. It's really mixed.
And when that's happening, they're really hard for your students to understand. So I really wouldn't worry about that text structure if it's not clear and single.
Throughout the entire text, single throughout the entire text. So, and then also problem solution can be Q&A, right?
Yes.
Problem solution, Q&A.
Now, let's talk for a minute. You can have in narrative text, your character can have a problem and make a solution, but that doesn't make it a text structure, a problem solution. Same with cause effect. Things can cause things to happen, but that doesn't make it a cause-effect text structure.
It's a narrative. It's the plot. It's part of the plot,
exactly. Right? And compare, contrast, same thing. Things can be compared to something or contrasted to something over a narrative, but that's not compare, contrast, text structure. These text structures are only informational text, and the author has set them up as, this is my text structure. I am going to compare this thing to this thing, and that's it.
That is the structure of the author's writing.
Correct.
Okay.
And they are very hard to find.
So let's say you find one. Woohoo.
Yay.
You get to teach it. So if there is a clear and single text structure, teach it. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
And then if there is no clear text structure, use strategy instruction to teach the text.
Yep.
So that's where you would jump over to that strategy box, look at those different strategies, and choose one that fits the text.
Yeah.
So that will kind of go into our right side of our flow chart. So let's say you preview that text and it's narrative. If it is narrative, read the text. See what strategy or strategies will best work to teach this text. So as you're reading, you need to be thinking as if put yourself in your student's shoes, right? So what are you thinking to really understand that text? Are you visualizing? Are you asking questions? Are you making connections? Are you making comments, evaluating to make comments? Are you monitoring and clarifying? Did this have some really meaty or confusing even things, right? Are you having to summarize? I mean, we're That's like a go-to, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Are you making predictions? Are you making lots of inferences? So think about that. And remember, that can also be applied to informational, because if that informational text did not have a clear text structure, you're going to pull for one of those strategies.
Yes.
So always remember that. So let's say you're in that narrative text, you know, it works really well for prediction. So I'm like, oh, prediction's going to work. Throughout the text, if there's a clear and understandable strategy or strategies, teach them. Now, if there's not, which do you find that's pretty rare?
I don't know. In first grade texts, sometimes
okay.
It's just really hard, and you'll read it 2 or 3 times. You're like, oh man. I mean, we could stop and write the few little main ideas on each page, but it's really not much
to it.
Yeah.
So I teach second grade, and I can't think of a text where I can't use a strategy. So that would make sense. The less complex the text could be. So if there's not, use story structure. So, but that is like a last go-to, right?
Yeah,
because it's so simple.
It is. And every narrative text, the structure of narrative text is story structure. So there's always going to be setting, characters, plot, and in plot, event, resolution.
Yeah. And you discuss that as you're understanding and using a strategy anyways.
Yeah, I always like to say that in story structure, we're summarizing.
Yeah.
We're summarizing the event. We're summarizing even characteristics of the characters and what setting. So you're really using a strategy anyways. In story structure. It's summarizing. But you can do it within the structure of that story map. Really.
Exactly.
But so you have lots of options. Let the text guide your choices.
Yeah, if you're having to force it, it's not going to work. It's not going to help the students understand the text. So make sure it's a strategy that flows with that text. And once you've taught all the strategies to your students, or say you've got 2 row out, try to blend those. Do multiple strategies. So you can do summarize and predict. You can do summarize and question. There's lots of ways you can do multiple strategies. But sometimes your reading program may have chosen a strategy and you're like, this doesn't quite feel right with this text. Guess what? Use this tool and change it.
You bet.
I mean, there is nothing stopping you from changing that strategy. What's the goal? Understanding what they read.
You bet.
So let's not force them to a strategy that the program has suggested, really.
Yeah, the program gives you suggestions. You're the teacher, and you can choose to follow what they've suggested because you like it.
Yeah.
Or do something different because what you're having, maybe the thoughts you're having as you're reading that text lead to deeper thinking and deeper understanding. You change it.
And if it's something that needs to be discussed, then discuss it. But it doesn't have to be. Sometimes the strategies are more of skills, little things which you can always discuss those, but keep the focus of understanding the text on a strategy, and it will provide deep thinking, and then it makes those little skills easier.
Yeah,
So.
for sure.
Well, thanks. That's how we can choose comprehension strategies using the flowchart we provided. Thanks to Angie.
Yeah.
So. Well, I'm Whitney.
I'm Angie.
And we're the Simple Teachers. Thanks for watching our video. Make sure you like this video. If you're ready to read that text or text and choose some strategies, give this video a like and a thumbs up. Leave a comment and subscribe to not miss any future videos. Thank you. Simply teach.